So as we wait for Comic-Con to rev up, I think headlines will really start to fly tomorrow, and of course Saturday. Saturday is going to be just like the Armageddon of comic book movie news. But right now, with things being a little slow, Marvel has brilliantly dominated the headlines with their poster reveals from the Avengers 2 Age of Ultron and also an Ant-Man poster. And also Warner Brothers DC got out that cape and cowl reveal for Batfleck, and I've covered both those things. You can check out those videos right now. They're up here on Beyond the Trailer. But Warner Brothers wants in on this game with posters as well, but not for their DC movies, but also for The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, and also Mad Max. As I discussed in my Who Will Win Comic-Con video, Warner Brothers is at a bit of a disadvantage going up against Marvel specifically in that they have other movies to promote. And these posters, sure enough, aren't getting quite the same amount of attention, although people are very hungry for that Battle of the Five Armies trailer, and so I think this poster is at least something to tide them over. Don't be surprised if we get that trailer, by the way, sometime this weekend. So let's start out with Battle of the Five Armies, because I think that's the one people are the most excited about. Although there is a lot of interest in Mad Max, which I think is very exciting for Warner Brothers, considering how delayed that property has been. So let's start out here. This is great. And I think it's interesting that the direction this franchise is going. Now, a lot of you have said, "Oh, Grace, you say that the sequel to Catching Fire, Mockingjay Part 1 from the Hunger Games, is the only movie this year that can possibly still open with 100 million. It's the lone hope for 2014." And a lot of you counter say, "What are you talking about, Grace? The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies has a great chance at opening at over 100 million." And I have said consistently, that is not the case, because none of the Hobbit movies beforehand have opened at 100 million, and in fact, it's going downward. It's sliding about 10% million. I mean, a 10 million difference. I think the first one opened at around 80, An Unexpected Journey, and then The Desolation of Smaug at around 70. Now, of course, Smaug was a considerable improvement in quality of the film, but still, I don't see 100 million plus opening. However, I'm not quite as sure after seeing this poster, because I think that the advertising campaign is being very smart, and it's moving away from the Martin Freeman character, Bilbo Baggins, and going in the direction of its more important characters, and I think its more popular characters. Smaug, very well realized, brilliantly realized, in fact, by Benedict Cumberbatch. We talked a lot about motion capture recently here on Beyond the Trailer. Andy Serkis getting a lot of attention, and even Toby Kebbell for his work as Koba and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. But I think let's not forget that Benedict Cumberbatch did a good job here as well. And actually, when I was doing research for Andy Serkis, I came across a picture of Benedict Cumberbatch doing the motion capture for Smaug. And I think that Warner Brothers did him a real disservice by not getting that out there more and making sure that people saw it and realized that this was fully a Benedict Cumberbatch performance. I think his best on film to date. I know a lot of you say I give him a hard time, but he's raised his own bar so high with Sherlock. So, of course, Smaug is front and center here. I think that's really important. It's going to help this box office appeal a lot. But then look here, as I said, no Bilbo, but instead you have Bard here. And boy, is Luke Evans having a great year. He has not only this, but he also has Dracula Untold over at Universal. This is a very exciting time for that actor. It's also made more interesting with the fact that, he doesn't talk about it so openly these days, but he at one point was an openly gay actor. He seems to have backtracked from that a little bit, even to the point where there's a rumor going around that he's dating a woman. But at one point in his career, he was out and proud, and it'll be interesting to see if that affects him. And I think maybe we are getting to a point, and it would be encouraging, where you could have an openly gay actor in roles that aren't either gay or it's not a big part of the role. So to choose him, to put him on the front here, I think is fascinating. And he did have some good action sequences in the last film. However, I have to say, where are my elves at? I love the elves. I love Toriel, or however you pronounce Evangeline Lilly's name. Not enough people spoke to her. They were just like, "Hey, you," and I was like, "You gotta say it." And I also, of course, like Orlando Bloom as well. But the elf action sequences are so cool. But we'll see what happens here. But, he's coming to get Bard's home, so I guess Bard's going to defend it. But I'm curious as to what you think of this. Do you think this is a good idea to go in this direction? Do you think it betrays the direction of the first two movies? What about all those dwarves, Thorin Oakenshield? I just forgot about him. Or do you agree that it's smart to focus on Smaug and Bard? By the way, the humans of this story, it all comes back to the humans. All right, let's go over here to Mad Max. This is very interesting, and I think that, there's not a lot to see here. I do like What a Lovely Day, because that's it's such a British kind of sentiment, It's like keep calm and carry on. Lovely is a very UK word, and I think it fits perfectly with the story. Now, of course, this is an Australian property, but I think there's of course, Australia, just like I think Australia stayed a little closer to the UK than we did. I mean, they certainly kept the accent, but we'll see. But I like this. The other reason I like this is I think along with Interstellar, this is kind of seeing a trend for low-budget sci-fi for big blockbusters, which I think is fascinating. For a long time we've been moving towards very high special effects, huge, these things like I think it's real, and that's all CGI, but I can't tell. Things like Avatar and Gravity. And then you see Interstellar, and not only Mad Max, but also the new Star Wars Episode 7. You see all these people going back to practical effects, a little bit of a backlash. And I'd be interested to see how this affects not only audiences' tastes, if audiences are hungry for this, or also if Hollywood might be finding a way maybe to satisfy audiences and save money. I mean, ballooning budgets is a big problem in Hollywood right now. So to go in this direction with practical effects could be a little more cost effective. Or maybe it's more expensive, we'll have to see. But I like practical special effects. I think they make for more grounded and organic performances from the actors. And they just really do make things seem more real, although Gravity, of course, seemed quite real. But I'm curious what you guys think of these posters. Do you think Warner Brothers is doing a good job with their non-DC properties? And what do you think of their choice to release these posters rather than anything for the DC movies? Marvel is going around releasing all these, look at these Avengers 2, Ant-Man, films that are also far away. Where are perhaps some character posters for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice? It's 2 years away, but Warner Brothers isn't even right now competing really. So I'm just curious to your thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning into my Comic-Con coverage, and you can check out a whole bunch more right now. Bye.